Chapter 2 Kind or Blind. Chapter opens with Max checking his small compass while walking through the hilly forest of the dry jungle they crashed in. After a bit of walking, the two end up in a strange bamboo grove. The bamboo plants are all growing at a strange angle away from the muddy hills that cover the area. Max tells Arid to wait for a second while he checks something out. He takes his parachute pack off and climbs up the muddy hill to get a better vantage point. Arid waits patiently, but Max quickly tells him to get up there with him. Arid throws him the backpacks and climbs up, holding onto sturdy bamboo trees to not lose his grip with the damp ground. As the two get up and walk along the hilltop, they notice a bright clearing where no trees or bamboo plants are covering the view. As they get close, they see that the shrubbless clearing is right on a moderate decline, giving them two a really good view of the surrounding area. On the left, a large mountain range with faded grey peaks can be seen reaching into the distance, and on the right, the bamboo forest slowly fades back to regular trees before rapidly stopping as a sharp 1,000-meter drop-off separates it from what appears to be an expansive dry land. What Arid and Max were looking for, though, was straightforward from the clearing. A large town can be seen in the distance, covered with many uneven shingled roofs that appear to just be brown-red spots from such a distance. On the further edges, large clearings with heavy concrete fortifications and smoking factory chimneys can be seen. Arid jokes that these don't look like cannibals to him, and Max says he's glad he didn't believe such bullshit. Arid says that people down here might still not be nice. Max asks him what they should do then. Arid thinks for a bit and says that they need to get to the city and try to sneak in if people are normal. Max says that the city is called Perm, but Arid tells him that's stupid and that even from a distance he'd be able to tell if that was the case, reminding him of some photographs they saw in a museum. Max scoffs and tells him he'll soon see he's wrong, but suddenly remembers they almost forgot to do something very important. Max takes his flight suit off and turns it inside out to hide the 5 stripes painted onto the left and right side of the jacket. Arid agrees that it's a good idea and does the same, tucking in the sides to completely hide the Surface Company markings. Max says the pants are probably going to be fine as is, since they have no markings on them. It says that these are state-of-the-art surface equipment and they will surely be recognized by someone with a sharp eye. Max tells him these aren't surface pants, but Soviet ones, reminding him there's no way somebody could identify them off of those alone. Arid thinks for a bit, but agrees as he believes that live surface pilots falling from the sky can't be that common of a sighting in the downfall. He starts to unfasten the anti-G harness though, saying this would likely be quite the giveaway. Max agrees and they throw their harnesses onto the shrubs on the side. Arid asks what they are to do now. Max says that they now know their approximate headings, so they have to keep up their descent through the woodlands, and if they are lucky they will reach a proper road that leads further down. Arid says it sounds like a plan, though he is clearly still unsure of how good of an idea it is. The two are shown descending below the clearing through the bamboo thickets, climbing between bamboos that are growing denser and denser. Arid notes how the terrain appears to be getting quite terraced here, so the descent will at least be easier. Max wants to agree, but he slows down and signals for Arid to stop. Arid walks before Max as he doesn't notice the signal. Max crouches down and puts a finger to his mouth to tell Arid to stay quiet, before mimicking a running person with one hand. Arid nods, but a loud gunshot startles him and he falls back. Max catches his hand just in time to drag him down as well. The two fall down the muddy hill while hitting several bamboos on the way down. They both quickly get up and rush to hide behind different bushes close to them. Arid peeks above the shrubs he ducked behind to see where he had dropped down to. He sees a tiny shrubless clearing that they had just fallen in front of. Somebody can be heard screaming and gasping as they run away to the right of the clearing before silence fills the air again. A bearded man who's covered in wraps and padding walks into the clearing and goes to the left, towards Arid. After passing by the bush he's crouched behind, the man walks past Arid to another shrub and picks some clothing up which was strangely left on the floor. He shouts into the forest that he got his package back. He says he thinks somebody's dead, though he doesn't specify who. After not hearing any response from his allies, the man turns around nervously before starting to pace back towards the forest. After the moment of quiet passes, a rattling noise can be heard. The loud sound of a machine gun breaks through the stillness that had just set. Arid ducks lower to the ground and waits for the man to run off. The gunfire continues for a few solid seconds, but it appears to be one-sided, with the only machine gun firing till its last round. Now that the gunfire has stopped, a joyful scream can be heard. An optimistic toned voice confirms that they got 0 casualties on both sides, just for a deeper voiced person next to him to complain how maybe he could have aimed a bit better, as this place already has a dense enough boarding crew population. A third man says that he fucked up one of the attacker's hands pretty badly, so he doesn't know if he'll recover. A calm female voice now asks if it went down the middle, and he confirms, turning towards the machine gun guy and telling him to learn from him once instead of firing a whole drum into the air. The machine gun guy dismisses him and says they have to check the place first. The man who spoke previously walks up from behind to the other side of the clearing with a rifle in his hand and asks the machine gun guy why he wants to clear the place. The one who follows after him answers instead by asking how he missed the fact that they walked in on a skirmish between two groups. Machine Gun Guy adds to that by saying he swears that what he's about to say is true, describes how one of the attackers caught a throwing dart mid-air and threw it back at the attacker right before he spotted him. He adds he kind of feels bad for shooting the guy in the arm. Eric peeks up to check the perimeter and sees the group of 3 people who are speaking exiting into the clearing. Eric quickly ducks back and looks to his side, trying to spot Max. He soon notices him pressed closely next to a tree, a hiding spot that would be fairly bad if it wasn't for the fact the whole trunk was overgrown in a thick layer of ivy. It looks towards him and hand signals him the number 5, though they both run when he counts down to it. Max slowly moves away from the tree and nods to the side before putting his hands up in the air. Eric is confused and tries to hand signal something, only for a voice behind him to laugh and say hands in the air. The man with the rifle is shown standing behind him, bayonet pointed right at Eric's neck. The 2 others turn around and look at what Rifle Guy has found. He immediately points out where Max is and tells him to get out from cover slowly. Max walks out from under the cover and assures everybody they surrender, to which Eric nods very nervously. The oldest man in the group, who's mostly hidden by a large backpack and a Ushanka hat, asks the 2 who they are and where they are from. Eric is not sure whether he should say the truth, but Max already introduces himself and Eric by name. Eric says that they are traveling towards a town to meet up with a friend, adding that they were not a part of the fight that just went down. Machine Gun Guy is confused at this and asks whether he means Crystal by town. Eric nods and says they don't have much time since they were a short walk away already. The Rifle Guy thinks what nearby place they could have come from and informs them that they won't be taking anything from them, since they are just a ground crew of the Strayfarer squad, and they've been ordered to move to a different Arsenal squadron, adding that they are in no way responsible for any arrests. He just asks them not to try pulling a gun on him, saying that wouldn't end well. The oldest man steps forward and tells them that if they want they can travel with them to the Crystal, since this seems to be a misunderstanding. Max and Eric look at each other in confusion but decide to take the crew up on the offer. The man tells everybody to pack up and get going since they are burning daylight after all. Everybody puts away the weapons besides the Machine Gun Guy, who calls the oldest man over to the shrub that Eric saw one of the attackers take something from. It runs over too out of curiosity, only to see the 2 looking at something on the floor in the grass. The oldest guy asks what happened and Machine Gun Guy says this is the one that got hit by her own poison dart. Eric gets closer to see Machine Gun Guy pull out a wooden throwing dart from the back of an unconscious figure of a shorter stature. MG Guy flips the person over and Eric sees the face of a younger woman, though he is surprised it is covered in a bandaged hood with strange wind goggles. Machine Gun Guy asks the older guy what they do, this time calling him by his name, Oliver. Oliver asks him if she's gonna die. Machine Gun Guy picks the dart up, brings the tipped part under his nose and tells him it's just some sort of sleep poison by the looks of it. Oliver tells him he knows the protocol and warns Eric to look away. Before he can lunge the rifle bayonet into the neck of the girl on the floor, Eric yells out at him to stop. Oliver asks him why, but Eric does not respond. Oliver begins to explain that a roof hound will eat her by the end of the day, so she might as well not be half conscious when she's found by it. At this point, Max looks over to check what is going on there. Eric is panicking and tells Oliver that this was the friend they were meant to meet up with in the Crystal. Eric waits for his lie to be called out, but Max jumps to his help and asks him if it's actually her, specifically avoiding having to mention any names. Oliver looks at Machine Gun Guy and they both shrug. The one walks up to the unconscious girl and asks everybody if they made their choices so they can get going. Everybody looks at her, so Max and Eric eagerly nod, knowing they have secured a way to the town of Crystal, even if it took a bit of lying. Post-chapter. Golden hills of dry grass are seen stretching into the distance. Besides a tiny river running between them, the only things of note are the relatively small houses dotted around the paved asphalt road, running behind the riverbank, along a railway and a few gravel paths. A small grove next to the outer bank of the river is seen growing up the hill next to a staircase made of packed soil and planks. A teenage boy with blonde hair hidden under a winter hat, colored in the colors of the Russian flag, is waiting next to a girl a decent few years older than him who's wearing overalls over a long-sleeved white shirt. Both of them are sitting and looking towards the flat grassy river bank before them with worry in their eyes. As the sun sets before them, the boy with the hat asks the girl if it would be better if she drove him to Olaviana, but she declines, saying it would be worse if the 2 that were waiting for them returned to an empty house. The girl asks the boy with the winter hat if he's worried, and he says that the 2 are 3 hours late. The girl tries to lighten the mood by saying Kitko joked they should only get worried after the 4th hour, but the boy says he doesn't care about Kitko and that he's worried about Blank. Blank's name is never actually said, and when he speaks this name, no sound is heard. The girl tells him he made the choice to not go there himself, so the boy looks away in anger. A shot of a boy about as old as the first one with the winter hat is shown. He's a little shorter than the first one, but has ever so slightly darker hair and a much wilder haircut. He's lying unconscious on the asphalt runway with a trail of blood behind him. The boy gains consciousness and looks up in terror with a few stains of blood on his face and bicycle helmet. Just then, the same scene cuts back to the downfall where a close-up of Arid is shown as he walks forward sternly. Max quietly tells him that it looks like he was wrong about the city if everyone's calling it Crystal and not Perm. Arid doesn't respond, so Max calls him out and he twitches, to which Max laughs slightly. He tells Arid he's zoned out, saying that it's rare to see that happen to him while he's walking. Arid is seemingly disturbed, but jokes that the adrenaline must have finally run out.